Oh, I thought it was great. I mean, we had to end. First of all, we had to end the seventh season. We'd left her sort of in jeopardy under a car, I believe, in a rainstorm. So, yeah, no, I mean, it was obviously supposed to be continued on, and you know, we knew that Georgia was leaving, and so we just wanted to make sure that caring so much about Sarah Seidel and the character that she created, it was important to do it right and do it with as much grace as possible. And certainly in terms of Grissom's relationship with Sarah, that was an important dynamic to try and address. And I think, certainly George and I personally, and I think everybody else, very pleased with the way it ended. I think it's, because of the strike now, we haven't been able to do any episodes for so long about that. But I'm sure it's still very much a part of Grissom's life in the series. And hopefully we haven't seen or heard the last from Sarah Seidel either. We wanted to keep with the idea that we're not revealing very much at any one time, which is what we've always kept between her and I throughout the whole thrust of the series, and so I think that what was revealed was hopefully delicate and in keeping with the fact that they don't reveal much to anybody, including themselves, probably. So hopefully we were true to that, you know. It's like anything else, it's like at a workplace when somebody finds out that two people are having a relationship, all of a sudden it becomes a big target, and everybody wants to know, well, when did it happen? How did I miss the signs? What's going to happen now that it's been exposed? So there's all of that. But we didn't want it to become a soap opera. So it's very carefully doled out in little bits and pieces, as it would be to people who, I mean, nobody goes around talking about, nobody really lives like they do on soap operas, where everything's exposed constantly. So we also feel it's truer to reality, to our lives, to do it this way, and I think it's still full of questions. We always wanted it to always be full of questions, and never have answers, because the answers aren't as interesting as the questions. And so as long as we keep the questions alive, we feel like we're doing the right thing. Well, I think he's in a pretty difficult place for him. He's not someone who's used to committing to someone. I'm not sure he ever has in that way, and that's sort of now been shelved in some way that I know, he's wrestling with, and the whole force of her dilemma and what forced her out, and as is the case with all of them, after a while, the burnout starts to become pretty prevalent. There's only so many dead bodies you can look at before you start to really become inured to it. And I think that all of those things are playing into to Grissom's situation. Just the mere fact of middle age is, a daunting thing for most men and women, And I think that that's also a part of it, not knowing if what you're doing is the right thing, and if what you've been doing for 30 years is the only thing you're going to do. Those questions come up. And so I think he's very much in that place of questioning his purpose. If you ask most men, there comes a point in their life where they want to know whether they can change their lives. Can I be something else, or is this what I'm going to be the rest of my life? And if it is, am I going to be happy with that choice? And so, yeah, I think that a lot of people, a lot of people get divorced. In Grissom's case, he was wondering if he could get married. That would be the great change in his life. I'm fortunate to be an actor. And I think one of the things that always drew me to being an actor was the idea that, it's all new all the time. Um, the opportunity to play different characters over the course of 30 years, which I've been allowed to do, uh, it keeps you in that state of imagination, in that wonderful childhood state where you can pretend anything and it's all happening. It's the Chronicles of Narnia, and the Lord of the Rings. And and it's still that way. In my 50s, I am still allowed that sort of childhood look at people and places and things. And yeah, I mean, I'm very fortunate to have found this to do, and I think I still discover things about Grissom as we go along that I certainly didn't know last week, and that's ultimately what makes characters in a story compelling, is that they are constantly discovering things for themselves that we don't know about them. You know. I quite frankly am Grissom more hours during the day than I'm myself. So, at a certain point you start to get that sort of like, wait, which is what? Is this me? Is this him? Is this, this? And, it does wreak a little havoc with your personal life, and also the idea of playing other people. Am I ever going to be able to not look at something this way? Well, I think, I mean, the show has gone off in a lot of different, ways, as would be the case over 8 years. You can't do a show every night about, people get tired of blowflies after a while. It's certainly coming. It's certainly, all of it is always there. I think this year we did a episode about bees, where he's very concerned with this problem with the bees in the world. And, I mean, I think it's always there in the background, and it's certainly the foundation of Grissom and of, letting the audience know how, you know, when we deal with life and death and time of death, it's played a good role in that. And but entomology is only a small fraction of what the forensic investigators deal with. So, but it was definitely an important part of creating the show. Well, Billy and I done a couple movies. I did my first movie with Billy, and we hadn't worked in a long time and together. And you never know if one of your friends who's a fabulous feature director is interested or has the time. He's been directing operas all over the world, and I mean, he's a busy guy. And I think we just got together, and he expressed that he enjoyed the show, and so we said, well, God, it would be great if you could come and direct sometime. I know you may not want to, and he agreed to do it. He so thought it would be fun, and it was. We had a lot of fun. Yeah, we're hoping to get him back next year. So it's great to have somebody like Billy come in, some fresh blood and new eyes, and say, that's not. What are you doing? What are you making that face for? I said, well, I got to make that face. We got to go to commercial. And usually I have to raise my eyebrow so that the audience knows we're going to commercial. He goes, put the eyebrow back down. We're not having any of that. No faces. So, I mean, it's fun like that.